Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to Dr. Nik Razahan and our beloved friends. We are from BA24258. Today we will present the quantitative research method. We had do some research on the money management among students at UiTM Kota Bharu campus. So, here are our group members.
Severatem, Tan, Abu Bakar, Endu and Fatima in 2013, Naradin, Ismail, Harun, and Kamis 2018 have found that PTPTN loans students prefer to spend their education loans on expensive items. Students at universities like to spend money on the appearance of branded things and high-end restaurant foods. Many of students must have part-time jobs to supplement their income if they do not have a strong money management plan in place. This has a long-term impact on pupils' attention to classroom lessons and their ability to modify and complete assignments. According to the New Straits Times on 2019, university students spend their money on needs like food, literature, and other personal costs. The rising cost of living and books may have an impact on students' financial flow sustainability. So this study aims to investigate whether financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control have a significant impact on money management among students of UiTM Kelantan campus Kota Bharu. The study aims to assess the money management among students in UiTM Kota Bharu. Specifically, it will have a following objective. 1. To analyze the relationship between the money management among students in UiTM Kota Bharu and the financial literacy. 2. To analyze the relationship between the money management among students in UiTM Kota Bharu and the peer influence. 3. To analyze the relationship between the money management among students in UiTM Kota Bharu and the self-control. Next, let's look up on the research framework. We have identified that money management can influence by financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control. Definitions of terms. Firstly, we look on the money management. According to Sundar Resan and Rahman on 2017, state that management of money is defined as an ability to deal with money effectively to abstain from issues related to money. Drawn by their unlimited desire, inappropriate management of money has been witnessed as a major problem being faced by many students, hence making it as a researchable area for many scholars over the years. The behavior students developing regarding the management of their money at university is the most likely to be carried forward in their careers. In addition, students can more beware or manage their money instead of buying the nonsense stuff. Secondly, PTPTN loans. The National Higher Education Fund, which is Perbadanan Tabung Pendidikan Tinggi Nasional, PTPTN, was set up with the aim of providing education loans to students pursuing their studies at the local higher education institutions. This loan will enable students to fully or partially pay their fees and their substance for the duration of their study. Since 1997, PTPTN had disbursed loans to 1.95 million students, totally more than 43.60 billion. Thirdly, spending behaviors. According to Wilson, 2005, consumer spending behavior is strongly influenced by 4 factors. Firstly, the cultural factor, which include culture, subculture, and social class. Second factors were social factors that include groups, family, roles, and status. Third is personal factor, include age and life circle stage, lifestyles, occupation, economic situation, personality, and self-concept. Last factor is physiological factor, and it include motivation, perception, learning, belief, and attitude. By understanding these 4 factors, could help to address customer needs and wants, and finally, increase more saving in future. In addition, there is another factor called economic factor, which would affect a consumer spending as well.
I'm Anis Ainufatin will continue the presentation. In this chapter, a literature review was presented, which include an in-depth analysis of previous research that is relevant to the current study. In order to understand and investigate the issue being looked into by this study, it must also do a literature review. This is accomplished by consulting the work of previous researchers. It is important to do this review in order to suggest what knowledge and concept have been established as a result of the study. This is the summary literature review. First is dependent variable, which is money management. According to Cunningham 2001, students often enroll in college without being solely responsible for their personal finance. This is because the students are under the supervision of their parents and are heavily dependent on their families, so they care little about the financial problems of childhood and adolescence. Young people need to be economically literate to be able saving and investment well, as stated by Ansan 2013, Chinan and Endo 2012, Ahmad and Rouse 2016. In accordance with Gaman and Forgue 2011, universities and other institutions of higher education are places where students gain the knowledge and experience to make decisions about their spending. Next, there are three independent variables. First is financial literacy. According to Lissardi 2007, explained, financial literacy may be described as financial knowledge with the goal of obtaining wealth. It is understandable that measures should be taken to address the challenges of globalization, particularly in the area of financial globalization. As claimed by Dahlia, Rabita and Zuraida in 2009, looking at past literature from studies conducted outside of Malaysia suggests that financial literacy among students is required to prevent future difficulties arising from a lack of information about financial management. Second independent variable is peer influence. People learn best from individuals who are similar to them. According to social learning theory, according to Coates, Durbin, Haley, and Davis in 2011. Peer educators can also serve as role models since they have faced similar challenges when attempting to educate in accordance to Nazli Sally 2050. According to Gentinatang and Gu 2018, explained, peers may encourage a variety of things, including academic cheating. Thus, it's not impossible for them to also promote good financial management. Last but not least, self-control is our third independent variable. Self-control helps individuals to suppress preconceptions and biases, and that by improving self-control. The desire to avoid consumption grows, especially for those who feel that self-control would lead to happiness in the future, according by Nepomuceno and La Ricci in 2017. As stated by Moffitt, Arsenault, Belsky in 2011, self-control is the capacity to manage and change your response in order to avoid negative behaviors, promote positive ones, and achieve long-term goals. Self-control is vital for health and well-being. Restraint is defined as the ability to adjust or overcome prevailing reaction patterns and to govern an individual's behavior, thought, and emotions, according to the literature in accordance to the Ryder and Letts-Veltmulders in 2018. That's all from me. I will pass this presentation to the next presenter.
I am Nushela. We'll explain part research methodology, population. The term target population is used to explain the collective group of people dwelling in educational institution from whom the desired deduction and prognostication may be formed. Number of subjects that need expertise is may be divided into finite and infinite kind. If a population has a definite number of components, it is said to be finite, which requires mentioning the whole groups. 120 UiTM Kota Bharu students that are 18 years of age or older made up the study populations. Next topic is determination of size. For gain sound inferences from study findings, selecting an appropriate sample size is essential. Even though there are several established general rules of thumb for estimating sample size, researchers are confused which one to employ when determining sample size in their prospective investigation. Over the past few decades, the Rossi 1975 set of sample size recommendation has gained popularity. Roscoe asserts that the majority of behavioral research should have a sample size more than 30 but lower than 500. from Sakaran and Bharu 2016. According to the ROSCIO procedures, we obtain a sample size of 100 students overall for this investigation. 100 respondents from 4 different classes are chosen to participate in the survey, which will be administered. Proceed to sampling frame. An assessment of actual situation from which sample might be taken is known as sampling frame. Population representation is required for the sample frame. In this study, 120 students from UiTM Kota Bharu serve as the sample frame. There are several sampling techniques, including likelihood sampling and non-probability sampling, which are often used. The respondent information was gathered from this study using a non-probability sample and convenience sampling approach. Sampling technique convenience sampling was employed in this study as the sampling method. Even though not all of the students at UiTM Kota Bharu were included in the sample, it was a practical way to collect the data from the respondent. Data was gathered via a survey questionnaire which was given to each student. Due to its low cost and simplicity of implementation, convenience sampling exists in overcoming the majority of the research restriction. For the research questionnaire, the survey consists of 30 items in 3 sections, composed of Part A, Part B, and Part C. The Part A asking about respondent profile consists of 4 items regarding their gender, age, course, and semester. Part B are on general information that are measuring students manage their money. And Part C are about to measure the variable of dependent variable and independent variable regarding money management, financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control. For the research instrument, the questionnaire was designed in English language, and all the instrument will be truly constructed in the line with our research objective. The instrument is then distributed to eligible respondents to receive the data to be analyzed. The choice of response for each of the items used in the study is using the 5-point Likert scale. First is strongly disagree, second disagree, third is neutral, 4 agree, and 5 is strongly agree. The framework and data collection method. In order to conduct this research, the collection of data will be done through the distribution of questionnaire via Google Form to eligible respondents in order to address the research objective. A questionnaire is simply a list of mimeographed or printed questions that is complete by or for a respondent to give his opinion from ROPA 2012. A post detailing our intention, especially the purpose of our research and gratitude with a link to the Google form attached will be blessed on social media such as WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Aside from that, we will also broadcast the message to our contact that fit their criteria. All information collected during the survey is strictly confidential on an individual basis and is provided only with aggregate data and does not disclose the identities of those who participate in the survey. Method of data analysis is to identify UiTM Kota Bharu student financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control, which is IV, and DV is student money management. So, descriptive analysis, we use mean, frequency, percentage analysis by item and cross tabulation. Second, to investigate relationship between independent variable and dependent variable under these studies. We use a Pearson correlation coefficient. The data will be coded and then key in into the computer using the program statistical package for social science, which is SPSS version 18. This study Likert scale of 5 points that were strongly disagree, neutral, agree, and strongly agree. Pearson correlation coefficient value from -1 is negative perfect relationship to +1, which is positive perfect relationship. A correlation of 0 indicates no relationship between two variables. In determining the strength of the relationship, this study used the guidelines proposed by HR 2003 as stated below.
I will explain about assessment of normality. Squareness is defined as a measure of symmetry or the lack of symmetry in the normal distribution. To be more precise, Mishra also stated that the definition of kurtosis is a measure of the peakness of a distribution. A distribution is deemed as normal if the squareness or kurtosis is between range of -1 and +1. Based on the table, the values of the squareness and kurtosis test for all the variables fall between the acceptable value of -1.179 and 0.920. Thus, it indicates that the data is normally distributed. Next, I will explain about reliability test. Based on the reliability statistic, the Cronbach alpha coefficient for the 20 items is 0.941, suggestion that the items have very good internal consistency and is considered excellent. It means that the questionnaire for the money management among students is acceptable in most situations for social science research. Next is correlation. Table shows the result of the Pearson correlation for each of the independent variables: financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control, and the dependent variable money management. The results for all the variables fall in the range of 0.481 until 0.742, which indicates the high and also moderate positive relationship between the independent variables and the dependent variables. The highest correlation value is recorded for the relationship between money management and the self-control, which is 0.742. The other two correlations, which are between money management and financial literacy, and also between money management and peer influence, recorded the value of 0.580 respectively. Based on the result from the Pearson correlation, it can be concluded that the relationship between the independent and dependent variables shows that they are high and moderate positive relationships, which means that any changes on the independent variable will definitely give impact on the dependent variables. As we can see on the table, financial literacy has a positive relationship between money management, which are 0.580. Peer influence also has a positive relationship with money management, which are 0.850 also. Last but not least is self-control has a positive relationship between money management, which are 0.742. Last but not least is multiple regression analysis. The value of R2 can be defined as a measure of total variance of the dependent variable explained or accounted for by the accepted regression line. It contains a measurement in the dependent variable that can be understood by modifying the dependent variable. From the table, regression analysis research model summary, it present the multiple linear regression analysis for this research. The value of R indicates the level of prediction where the relationship between dependent variable and independent variable. The R square of this model research is 0.630. This means that 63% of money management is explained by the independent variables: financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control. There are another 37% unexplained variance by the independent variables, which can be explored for future study.
As the conclusion, we can see that the purpose of this study was to identify the variables influencing on how satisfied UiTM Kota Bharu students were with their money management. The researchers circulated the questionnaires, but only got 100 completed surveys. By utilizing SPSS techniques and statistical methods analysis, the collected data was examined. Students of UiTM Kota Bharu was the subjects of this study. Depending on the previously mentioned aim, the final conclusion may be explained. So, in this study, the variable impacting the money management among students at UiTM Kota Bharu The researchers was focused on the financial literacy, peer influence, and self-control as independent variables. Based on the study, we may decide that the independent variable is related to the dependent variable. Last but not least, we move to the implication. First implication faced during the process of completing the research is in order to acquire and accurate the data about the students who face this money management problem, the study needs to increase the number of people who answer to the questionnaire. Since the study only focused on students at UiTM Kota Bharu, only 100 completed questionnaire were received by the researcher in this study. The researcher should get more response from all students who face the online learning so that the data collection on the money management among students may be truly measured. Another implication is during this pandemic, researchers only have to use one option for distributing this questionnaire, which is to use online platform, which means it only using Google Form, where the questionnaires was distributed through WhatsApp, and it may be difficult because some of the respondents do not want to answer the response to the question because they have never met face-to-face, and also consider this matter is not important for some of them because they think that they are not related with this.